Get on. All right, my friends, this is the official start to book club. We are doing something a little different. We are actually going to try to do 2 books. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I think we can like skim over 2 books, but we're going to try to discuss Sister Witches Book 5 and Sister Witches Book 6. There is so much that happens in these books that I'm excited for the challenge. But we don't have to get to Sister Witches Book 6. We can just do 5 and reschedule another Sister Witches Book 6, depending on how you guys are feeling. Or we might jump right to 6 and skip 5. So we're just gonna take it as it comes. Oh, were you saying something, Debbie? You're muted.
Yeah, no, sorry, I was talking to my husband. That's why I muted myself, so I wouldn't interrupt you guys.
Got you. Thanks, my friend. Thanks, my friend. All right. So, as a recap, because we are Sister Witches Book 5 is the official halfway through the entire Sister Witches series, if you can believe that. We are so close to 10 books in. We have 6 books launched, 7 books written. Book 8 is over halfway through production. Book 9 is in the plotting, and book 10 is also in the plotting. So we are actually almost all the way written, which is just crazy. It's so crazy to me. So we're gonna do a little recap because I actually had to recap too because I couldn't remember what happens in each book. So in Sister Witches Book 5, we have the plague descends on the Central Network, right? So we'll do a quick recap. Debbie, this will just be total spoilers for you. A quick recap is Sana and Ludius go searching for the Cyanomedicus plant. Isadora is dealing with her grief over losing all her babies and miscarrying, and the power is basically not prefacing that for her and warning her. And Max is just trying to keep the network together before he nearly dies himself. And in the midst of this, we lose Roxy. So that was a sad one. We knew Roxy had to go at some point, but that's what's going on in Sister Witches Book 5. And in Sister Witches Book 6, we see a time gap that has sort of had the Sister Witches drifting apart. Sana is retreating into her forest after losing Mam and not being there. Isadora is busy fostering kids that need a home. Oh, it's Jean Marie! She's coming in. We haven't seen Jean Marie.
Yeah, she hasn't been here for a while.
No, in fact, I sent a message to the other day and said we missed you.
Yay!
Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
I stopped.
So excited to make it.
I know. I just stopped because I was like, Jean Marie's coming.
We're so excited to see you.
I've missed everybody.
We missed you.
How are you, my friend? How have you been?
Very good. Just very busy.
Busy.
And yeah, but otherwise very good. Still keeping up on all of my books.
I mean, that's what matters, right? Alcara's always here for you, right? As long
Debbie, she's another Canadian.
Yes.
Okay.
Debbie's in Alberta. Jean Marie, where are you?
I'm in Ontario.
Ontario. Okay.
Hello, Jean.
Hi.
I'm Jean Marie.
So I was just explaining to everyone, Jean Marie, that we're going to attempt a Sister Witches Book 5 and Sister Witches Book 6. We're going to see how it goes. We'll take it as it comes. But I was just doing a recap because so much happens in the books. Sister Witches Book 5 is the plague. Sister Witches Book 6, the sisters have split apart. They're coming back together.
You're going to Salt Lake. Okay.
And sorry. So the Sister Witches are coming back together, and we see.
I need you to sign those.
Thank you. Sorry about that. The Sister Witches are apart, coming back together, and we see Max traveling to the east to discover basically his family, which he doesn't know about in the beginning. So there's a lot of really good ground to cover. But as always, let's start first with Sister Witches Book 5. I like to find out first what questions you guys have before we kind of dive into the individual characters and their journeys. So is there anything you guys wanted to talk about or discuss or ask about Sister Witches Book 5?
Well, it sounds like I've got a lot of reading to do. If you are already up on book 8 and 9, and it's like, holy cow.
Well, only
I
if
just
book
got
6 is
introduced
available.
I've just got introduced to Ludius and Max and that through the Dragon Master trilogy. So yeah, I have a lot of catching up to do.
Warned you, sister. This roller coaster ride never stops. So Linda, only through book 6 is available. Book 7 is finished. I just am doing the audiobook and stuff now, and I'm actively writing book 8. So you're not as far behind as it sounds. There's no one else here.
I have to get Sister Witches book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Make sure you get the Advocate before you get those, though, because you can read
the
Sister
Advocate.
Witches without the Advocate, but the Advocate makes the Sister Witches better.
Okay.
Well, that's what I remember reading in the front of it as you recommended that. And
Yeah.
it's like, it took me, I don't know, I've had the first book for probably a couple of months, and then I just kind of set it down, and that
Mhm.
school started, right?
Yeah, totally get
Yeah.
it. I have kids.
Yeah.
I'm totally with you. The books are always there, right? They'll find you when you need them. So anyone off the top of your head, think of anything that you just have to discuss about Sister Witches Book 5.
I haven't read it, so I have no reason to discuss
good.
it yet.
Diane, did you have something?
It just took so long for them to find that Sarah Medicus or whatever it was. But I like the part where, and she mentions it again in number 6, where she starts to act crazy, where Sonia's acting crazy to distract. And how she said in like 6, she said it made her feel freedom, like free to do that. So she was understanding. So I thought that was really cool.
There's a point in Sister Witches Book 5 where Sana has to distract all of these people in order for them to get this plant so Ian can make a cure for this thing that's going on. And Sana just acts totally unhinged. Like she just literally has an episode that she's acting the whole time, but to her it was actually really freeing. Right? She's like, her mother is pretty much actively dying and she's aware of it, and so she so she kind of takes all that angst out and puts it into this act, and then in Sister Witches Book 6, that moment actually changes her, right? For later, she's like, this is way better, just doing what I want to do, forget all the rest of you, which is just such a Sana thing, right? Like that's what we love about Sana, is she's just like that free bird. Well, let's start there. If no one else has any other questions, let's talk about Sana's journey in Sister Witches Book 5, because we actually see her and Ludius going into the world on her own when she's supposed to not be in the world. So she's really under dangerous circumstances going to the Western Network, and only she can do this because only she can ride a dragon who is not included in the Mansfield Pact, and only she can not see. So she has any chance of convincing people that she didn't know she was in the Western Network because her dragon brought her here. What did you guys think about the challenge set out for Sana?
I loved it. Because I thought it's like the perfect scam. And I've always, it's like when I've been doing a lot of sneakiness lately. So I've been like, ooh, yeah, this is right up my alley. I mean, today, I love the Bluey, the figurines, and I've been missing the box. So I went and bought it, took it out of the box in the store, put it in my purse, and then I just kind of mixed them in with the rest of the toys as they go along. So I felt very very connected to Sana. I was like, yeah, that's the sneaky.
Oh, that cracks me up. Andy's like committing crime. I'm Sana of the forest.
I have a question.
You get the figurines.
Hey, Debbie.
Hello,
Hi,
Debbie.
Debbie. Hi, Debbie. Thanks for coming. I love seeing you. What was your question, Diane?
We never did find out that, she kept on sensing the magic. We never found out who that was spying on her, did we?
No,
There
there's
was
a
never-
point where Max sends a protector, right? And the protector follows them and comes back and says it is someone in the Western Network.
Yeah, they knew that part, but they never really said who it was or anything.
No, I'm not aware
Yeah.
either.
Yeah,
I
okay.
just
I thought it was Charlie because he's always there, like in the mix, and he's always there where trouble is.
It's true.
So for him not to be there was like, no.
Andy had mentioned this during the noon call, and actually I had thought about it being Charlie. I had thought about making that Charlie, but I thought you would have predicted it. I'd been like, no, they would expect it to be Charlie. And I didn't want it to be like, yeah, I figured, Charlie's always there. So I didn't intentionally, because I was like, they're gonna think it's Charlie. And there's like a big Charlie reveal at the end. Maybe I
But what if?
liked it.
What if Charlie is following the follower?
Maybe.
The scammer who's in on the scam.
I was wondering about him because I was like, why isn't Charlie involved somehow? That's what I was like.
That was one thing when I was writing it that I was like, I just really didn't get Charlie and Faye into this book, but that was just sort of inevitable for the book that it was, right? Like, because they're just like in it with their kids. They have like 3 young kids. They're kind of dealing with them, and it's Tina and Tatum at that point. So I just ended up not having Charlie in that book, but I did think about it, which just makes me laugh that you said that earlier, Andy. It's vindicated that I know my readers that well, though. I know where they're at, and sometimes I can actually write a scene and be like, I know exactly how this person's going to react, and inevitably, book club, that person reacts the way I thought they did. I love it. My favorite thing.
Hey, Katie, quick question: how do you get the figurines?
What figurine?
That other lady was talking about the figurines that she got.
Oh, the Bluey.
They're for Bluey
Yeah.
cartoon.
Yeah.
What
They're
are they?
not for, it's a cartoon. It's an Australian cartoon that we love. It's as much for adults as for kids. It's in Disney Plus. I say, look for it, watch it, and you will be laughing it's such a fun cartoon.
We have
I
it
think
on
it's
all the
more for
time.
the adults than for the kids, but
That's so
find
And
a little
what's
bit
it
of
called?
time. And Bluey.
It's called Bluey?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Bluey.
That's the name of
I
the.
don't know if I can get it in Canada, but I'll look for
Yeah,
it.
we can. You can get it in Canada. Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
This is Bluey. And
Oh.
That's a
Oh.
very cute figurine.
An animated.
And it's the story
an
about
animated
the.
cartoon. Yeah.
Yeah. Super fun. Super fun.
But maybe one day we'll have Ludius figurines, and I'll let you guys know where to get them.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that would be nice.
good.
They're really fun. Okay, so we talked about Sana's like adventure going out. What did you think about Roxy and her getting sick and then passing?
I haven't met her yet, so I can't think anything.
Oh.
That's very true.
You know, I think it was, we kind of had to expect that. I mean,
Mhm.
the family couldn't be immune to the plague. I mean, even though Max gets it, I mean, you know, they couldn't be immune to getting it, and maybe someone, I mean, the death rate was pretty high, so.
Yeah.
But, you know, she hung on there for a while.
Mhm.
You know what's interesting about that is when I decided to kill Roxy at the beginning, which just sounds wrong. When I decided to kill Roxy at the beginning, I was like, most stories are going to represent like plagues and stuff like this with pretty quick deaths. But the truth is, so I was a nurse. I was a registered nurse in the U.S., which basically it's like a bedside nurse in a hospital or wherever. Death often takes a long time, right? Like people often like linger. Like hospice is a business for a reason. Like death can sometimes take a long time. So I struggled with the idea of like, do I prolong Roxy's death because it's a little more realistic and you just don't see it that much. Where like the person is caretaking and they're sort of in denial and, you know, that's really the death process, or should I make it quick? And in the end, I felt it served Isadora's character development and her growth better to really have to stick with it, you know, and stay with it, keep taking care of her mom and face it, and Sana as well. So Roxy ended up making it longer than I originally planned. When I originally first wrote it out, she died pretty quick, but it just changed the whole tone of the story. So that was kind of an interesting thing about Roxy's death. It was an intentional decision that she actually hung on.
If she had died sooner, Sana wouldn't have gone.
Mhm. That was
Sana wouldn't have the reason to go.
That was
but
actually
she
part
did.
of it. Yeah, that's how it changed the story, right? Like it just took the wind out of it.
I think she would have gone anyway if they'd asked her. No, Mickey, get down from there, please. But what I thought she was waiting for Sana to come back, because you hear a lot that people are like in their deathbed, and when one of their kids comes to visit, or when they finally get to see someone, they finally, you know, like let go. So I actually thought she was waiting for Sana, and that she was gonna have enough time to say goodbye to her.
Well, I knew what
I felt really bad she didn't.
So go ahead, Jean Marie. What'd you say?
I said felt really bad that she didn't get the opportunity to say goodbye to her. So.
Yeah. But there's like some poetic mirrorism in that Isadora didn't get to say goodbye to Dade.
Yeah, that's
Correct.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? They totally swapped it.
Mhm.
Well, and then because she carried on, Max gave her part of what he had for himself. He gave her a medicine to try to save her. Then he ended up getting sick.
I know, I thought that was very sweet of Max.
I was really scared for Max. I'm like, no, he can't die.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stress people out. I don't know why. About death of characters. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
we were talking earlier on the 12 o'clock call that do we need therapy because of Katie or
Mary suggested therapy with Katie, but maybe to change it to therapy because of Katie, or therapy about Katie but without Katie. I'm like, all of that's fair. I'll take that. I'll own that for sure. I think too, with I knew what I was going to do in book 6, right? So I also intentionally had Roxy die without Sana, because I knew that was going to come between the sisters and then spur kind of what happens in book 6, this reconciliation, because we've never at this point seen the sister witches like really break apart in any way where we start to be concerned about their overall relationship. Like, are you going to pull it back together? Like, what's going on with you guys? And for Sana to have not been there and carry that guilt and that weight, that made sense for her to then just sort of try to withdraw from the world and live on her own in the forest. So I was intentionally spurring the events of book 6 through that trauma of book 5, which is quite diabolical, if you ask me. Anyway, speaking of Max, Diane, not that you like him or anything.
Yeah, not that I like him or anything.
No, not that I'm surprised that you brought him up. What are your thoughts on Max's story through this whole thing?
Has Max stopped being a joke? Because so far from what I've
He's
read
not.
about Max,
He's not a jerk. He's not a jerk. He's not a jerk. He is in the beginning, you think, but then he isn't.
Debbie Kirk, the other Debbie on the call, we stand differently on Max. Right?
You don't like him either, Katie?
No. I love Max. I just think he's kind of a jerk. Like I love Max, but maybe I just
let's put it this way. He has a backstory you don't know about yet that helps with you understand how he became.
When you read the Advocate, you understand Max better, right? But and you see in the Sister Witches, you see Max through Isadora's eyes a lot and through his own, right? So you understand his machinations, but the way I look at Max is from everyone's perspective as I write the story, so that I can create a really holistic character. So if we're talking about Max as Isadora or Sana or Max sees Max, right, in these books, which is the only way you guys see him. Yeah, of course we love Max. We know he's self-sacrificing. He gave up his antidote for Roxy to try and save her, right? Like he was giving himself for the network. But if you were working for Max, or you were to be around Max on an everyday basis as an ambassador, I just don't think, well, he might not be a total arrogant jerk. I don't think he'd go out of his way to be rude. I think he would be very brusque and could be very difficult to work with and might come across as an intense jerk. That's my opinion on Max.
Well, I've only got introduced to Max through the Dragon Master trilogy and his handling of Isadora. Okay.
Oh wow.
And so far, he's been a real joke.
Wait till near the end. I have a piece. I had 2 pages that I actually took pictures of and saved so I could reread them because I loved it so much. Wait till you get to that part. I won't tell you what it is. But
it is really one of my best.
No spoiler alert.
No spoilers. But
Debbie
I don't want to spoil for you.
Debbie Kirk, did you
talking
get 6
that he's overconfident here or self-ego type of thing?
Linda, you were asking what? Overconfident? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I said he sounds like he's definitely overconfident and a big ego and this type of thing, but
he doesn't have it.
I don't think you could call him overconfident because he actually has reason to be confident. He's a very competent, intelligent person. And he's aware of it. He's just not a very emotional, instantly empathetic kind of person. And so he's there to get business done. He's efficient, right? And
let's just say
differently.
Let's just say he's socially challenged.
I would take that a step further.
Like that, yeah.
I would take it a step further. I wouldn't say socially challenged. He can handle whatever social interaction he wants, and we see that constantly, right? He's a fantastic ambassador. I think he's an introvert forced into an extrovert's world, and he was never taught like how to have compassion and empathy. And so it is like something he grows into, because I feel like we see Max softening through the books, but he has such an intense bearing because he's so capable that he can come across that way, just as like a more intense person. So calling him a jerk isn't fair, because he's not rude. He's not that way, but he's certainly not Charlie, right? Where he's like fun and warm and affable, and like, you're not gonna go to Max to like go have a good time on the weekend, right? Like, you're gonna go to Max because he gets crap done. Like, he's the guy that cleans up the messes, not helps make them, kind of deal. So that's
he had to go through. He ended up basically carrying the network through the plague. Basically,
he did, right? He did.
You know, everybody was, because Felicity got sick, and it was, and then Griffin disappeared. It was like I was mad at him. I was like, what the heck?
What did you guys think about losing Felicity? Were you sad about that?
No.
I don't, you know,
Wow.
I don't think we had the
You didn't expect that, Katie.
I don't think we had the attachment to her like we did like Scarlet, you know, or some of them like that. She didn't seem to have, I don't know, we didn't get the ends with her, I guess, maybe.
I liked Felicity because she took over, like she was with Charlie, right? Like I liked that. I liked that about her. But you know, she girl got to go sometime, right? So the other thing too to be aware of here, and some of you will have heard me say this, some of you won't, is already by this point in the series, I had to start being aware of the events of Mildred's Resistance and the Network series, because this time period for the Sister Witches, where they're in their like 40s, I think, is book 6 is their 40s, book 5 is late 30s, I believe. Already I had to be aware of the network structure and what's happening in the network, because I have to set up the events for Mildred's Resistance to happen smoothly, right? So there's a reason Felicity had to die to give way to Griffin as highest witch, because there's like a domino effect of things that are already in motion to create what's coming forward in like 5 books, which is kind of cool. Like, think about it, you have to plot really that far ahead. So part of that is very intentional on my part. But yes, Max.
Wow, I feel like I'm like way behind here.
You like are way behind.
Yeah, you are.
Exactly.
I also didn't like that Griffin picked Marin for his witch. You know, it's like, what?
I'm excited to hear what you think about Marin over the next couple books, because my beta readers ended up loving her in book 7.
Okay, well, because she was screwed, you know, messing up, like, you know, trying some trouble earlier.
Yeah. She's not perfect. She's not perfect, but it'll be interesting to hear what you think of Marin in book 7.
Oh, okay.
Because I wasn't sure how she was going to come across. I didn't have an agenda for it, so I was surprised, and my beta readers were like, "I love her," and I was like, "Really?" Cool. Anyway,
so should I be reading The Advocate and Mildred's Resistance before I start reading the Sister Witches?
No, you should finish the Dragon Master trilogy and then read The Advocate and then read the Sister Witches.
Okay, and what about Mildred's Resistance?
That will come after the Sister Witches finishes.
Okay.
I just happened to write this all backwards. Right? I didn't think people would like the Sister Witches this month, and then they were like, everyone wanted the Sister Witches again, and so I was like, cool, let's do 10 books.
It's like your coffee shop series. I could not put that series down. Any book you brought out, I literally lost sleep because I could not put the books down.
Yeah, you stuck to Andy. She can hallelujah that. She's
you broke my heart when you stopped writing the coffee shop series, Katie. I was like, okay, I'm not following you anymore. You take to make it worse for me to not follow you.
I was like, clearly it worked. Right?
Yeah, she's still here.
But no, I put that blame on Alcara. Like, that's Alcara's fault. That fantasy world has an idea or two. Yes, it was sad losing Pineville, but now we have the Sister Witches, so I think they totally make up for it. All right, so we're already halfway in. So we've talked about Sana and Max, but let's dive into Isadora in book 5 because she had really quite a heartbreaking plot line that we really don't see all that much in fantasy that I was really excited to represent. And I have always known this fact about Isadora, that Isadora was never going to have her own kids. Right. She was just never gonna. Like that was clear to me from the moment I met Isadora, which is sometimes Alcara just gives me these like crazy facts about someone. And that was one of Isadora's. So she's really not just groping with her grief, but her relationship to the magic. Right. So what were your main thoughts with Isadora's storyline in this book?
I loved meeting what was the teacup guy?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Ira, I
yeah.
like him. I
Yes,
don't know whether I'm
I
saying it right.
loved meeting him. I loved learning where the teacups came from for her.
Oh, I totally didn't even think of that. I'm so glad you brought it up. So
I loved that.
a parallel with the teacups.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyone who's read the network series, which are my Bianca books, will recognize the teacups that are mentioned on Isadora's shelf in that series. And then again, they're mentioned in the network saga when Bianca moves into Isadora's old cottage and the teacups are still there.
Yeah.
And the teacups start to just disappear. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
loved that. I was like, oh my God, this totally explains the teacups now. Because I always kind of wondered, what's the big deal with the teacups? Like, seriously? Like, I mean, I have a few teacups, I get it, but really, what's the big deal with the teacups? But now I get it.
Yeah, they're kind of neat.
Yeah.
Like what they represented for her, and then I'm still trying to figure out why they just went away on their own.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. I was like,
Yeah.
I've asked Alcara. We'll see.
Doesn't magic like stop? I mean, my take on it was that it was her magic that was keeping them
Mm-hmm.
because I remember that little bit.
Yeah.
My brain goes faster
I
than
have
my
days like
mouth
that.
again. I always thought, I remember thinking, I think it was when Bianca was there for her interview or for some interview, that the teacups were like very particular and they wouldn't, go to whomever, that they were like very skittish, like they had a personality of their own. So I always thought that it was related to her. After we figure this out with this guy and how she paints them and all, that they were related to her heart because she was painting them with her heart.
Yeah.
Right. So after she's gone, they didn't have it. It didn't make. Put on the socks for Mickey, please. Una las calcetas a la Mickey. Sorry, he wants to go. But
You're good.
And so that they started going away because her magic was no longer there. Her heart was no longer present, keeping them there.
Mm-hmm.
Because she infused so much love when she painted them.
Yeah, especially knowing that they represented the children that she had lost.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
and then family and everyone.
Oh yeah,
and then her mom and Dade. Yeah, like all of them. For me, a lot of what I've just always assumed about the teacups, Andy, was sort of the same thing. Like they eventually just went away because, like, the morning, like it had passed, like Isadora had already passed on, like the magic wasn't, like magic's not going to survive forever without the caster, right? So like Isadora gave of herself to make those. They survived while she was alive, but eventually they would have to go away because the world has moved on. That was always just kind of my assumption, and they just sort of disappeared one at a time into history.
And I'm glad they disappeared like that, because if they'd gone like when the house was taken on the slush thing, I would have been like,
oh, that would have been horrible.
Oh yeah.
Alcara always works out. But yeah, that was actually a really fun like thing to close out for my readers, right? Because there's always that question. And I think as readers like Debbie and Alberta like are reading through, I'm excited to hear what that experience is like for them as they read about the teacups and then they go into Miss Mabel's and the Network Saga and they already know what the teacups are. I think that's really fun. I think it should be like a really fun journey.
I read the Network Saga before I even heard of Sister Witches. I think the network saga is what started me following you, Katie.
So,
I was
okay, yeah,
reading
that makes sense. Yeah.
School for Girls.
Yep, that's perfect. Yep, then yeah, you started me with Bianca like the rest of the world. I just write
Yeah.
everything backwards, but I blame Alcara again because Alcara brought it to me this way. So, okay.
Yeah.
And then did you guys see any symbolism? I guess symbolism is the right word with Isadora. She's basically mad at the magic, right? Like she's angry. Like she's angry. She lost these and she's angry. She didn't get warning. Did you guys have any thoughts about her relationship with the magic at this point?
I thought it was valid because she was always helping everybody else and couldn't understand why it would help her. So
Yeah. What did
Yeah.
you feel at the
Yeah.
end?
Well, I mean, you know, as somebody who is a practicing witch myself, okay, I kind of relate to it that it always seems like the magic always has a second layer to it. You always think it's supposed to help you, but it never helps you because you're never allowed to use it for self-fulfilling stuff. And even in the books, you seem to follow along that line. She's supposed to use it to help others, but you can never understand why she can't do it for herself. Like why she can't stop the miscarriages, why she can't stop the loss from happening. It's making her angry and she's rejecting it, you know, because of that, you know.
And that really is it. Like, I think it's part of her mourning, right? Like she won't the magic work for me if I'm working so hard for the magic. And I think a lot of us have been in a place like that before, right? We're
Well,
like, I didn't ask for this.
If I may say, Katie, I lost my sister in 2021. Second sister I lost to cancer, okay? And I was so angry because I was doing healing rituals. I was doing healing prayers, you know, sending it out, you know, like take me, don't take her. And after she was gone, I just completely walked away from it. I walked away from the practice of witchcraft and everything else. I walked away from who I was because I lost faith in it. And when you read about Isadora, like I'm even reading about Isadora in the Dragon Master trilogy, and I can see in her how she's already starting to build that frustration there of why can't I get this to work the way I want it to work? Why can't I understand it all? You know? And it sounds to me like she continues on that journey in Sister Witches, you know?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Isadora has a very complex relationship with her powers as a watcher, and we see it evolve as she evolves, and it grows as she grows, and it changes unexpectedly, which you'll see more of in later books even. And we've seen in other books where all of a sudden things change in the magic and she has no control or power over it, right? So really Isadora's story throughout all the books, as you've mentioned, Debbie, but especially in Sisterwitches Book 5, is just a story of accepting that which we cannot control, right?
That's right. It's the journey of self-discovery, which Isadora has studied on, but she hasn't found an even balance to it yet, an even keel.
Yeah, well, spoiler alert, she hasn't by book 6 either, so.
So I know.
She's still got 4 books, sister.
But she is using it.
She is using it, yeah. So she does, I think by the end, when Isadora really steps into the past and then understands, oh, the magic was actually protecting me, right? Like, I think seeing that and understanding that she was being protected is what kind of turns things around for Isadora to understand it a different way. Like, this isn't what I asked for. This isn't what I wanted, but I see that there's something else I don't understand, and I can trust that there's other ways for me to show up, right? Like, I think all of us have to do that. Debbie Kirk, I think you're facing this a lot right now too, right? I didn't ask for this. This is not what I wanted, but I don't control it, right? Like, I have to just accept this and move forward into whatever faith journey you have, whether it's religious or not. So that's very much where I saw Isadora. And I think all of us, what I really wanted to give through Isadora's story is just that fear of like trust and like yourself, that you kind of have to like trust yourself to let go of these things and move forward into whatever is coming next that you don't control. I think that's really scary. I just had another question come up in my head I want to talk to you guys about. Anyway, okay. So in a nutshell, the Sister Witches go on these separate journeys. Isadora's is an emotional, spiritual tension journey where she's like coming into her own with the powers, right? And she's learning to accept that which she cannot control. Sana is going to the Western Network in this very much big adventure where she has a lot going on and she's trying to save a lot of people, but she misses her mother's death. And then Max is just trying to hold the network together while the leadership is falling apart, and he ends up contracting this disease. I can't even remember the name of the plague anymore because it changed a couple times through the course of me.
With an L.
What was it?
Said something with an L. What looted?
Language,
Language? I don't know.
Languera.
Oh, the Langura.
I think Carol's not on his call because she put it on a crossword.
Langura. Langura. The Langura plague. It was chimeral, but when I was cross-referencing from other books, I had used the chimeral plague. It took Camille's parents, but it had different symptoms, and so I was gonna die anyway. I had to be careful with that. So I just want to touch once on Max before we do like a speed book club on book 6, if that's even possible, because that book is ginormous and crazy. What were your thoughts on Max's like sort of journey into his like fever dreams? Right? Like Max kind of goes into this like place where he's got these dreams and he has to like face some demons, so to speak. What did you guys think of like Max's rounding about by the end of the book?
Well, at first I was like, is he dreaming or is he,
We were all wondering.
Has it passed over and this is, he's.
Yeah, I wondered that. Who was honestly afraid he was dying?
Me.
I was sort of.
Nah.
I was.
He can't die yet. It's only like book 5.
Diane's like,
Too soon.
there.
Too soon.
Yeah. I made this offer to the earlier book club, or maybe it was live writing with Katie, maybe both. I don't know. If any of you are super stressed out about when Max or Ludius are going to die, because we all know that they do, if you're really stressed out about it, I'm happy to tell you spoiler free at what book you should be looking for it, so that you're not stressed out with every new book that you read thinking that one of them is going to die.
I don't want to know.
That'll make your reading experience better. Let me know. I've had some people that are like, actually, that would help a lot. And so I'm happy to offer that if you need it.
No, I don't think that you should tell us. We should find out on our own.
Well, that's why I always give the option, right? Because some people don't want context. That's for sure. Max, like Sana, was very much, I knew what I wanted him to experience in book 6. So much of what I set up in book 5 like came to his resolution in 6. He faces this like near death, like literally near death moment where we really almost do lose him. Like he's fading fast. Being able to see it through his experience of the magic is kind of cool, I thought. And then like this coming back to life, I just wanted to start dredging up those ideas in him of like death and life and what we leave behind and who we are, because that really sets the stage for what he finds out in Sisterwitches Book 6 in a big way, because Sisterwitches Book 6 is a big book for Max. Well, it's a big book for everyone. There's a freaking kraken in it, right? But especially for Max as he's going with people. So anyone have any final thoughts or questions or observations on book 5 before we start talking about book 6?
I think I just better get busy reading so I can catch up to you guys.
Sister.
Now that my curiosity has gotten the better of me.
Well, no eating, sleeping, or working for you for the next 6 weeks. So
Debbie read like 13 books in 2 weeks or something.
Debbie did it like crazy.
Would not be the first time. Her coffee shop series, I am not kidding you. I would pick up that book. It would be 6 a.m. in the morning. Next thing I knew, 24 hours, and it's like 5 a.m. And I'm going, I should have slept. I should have slept sometime. I should have slept. But I've got the audiobook going, or I've got the book that I'm reading, just nonstop. So yeah, she cost me many hours sleep with that series.
I think Benjamin and Serafino was probably totally worth it. Those two were my favorite, Benjamin and Serafino. Okay, well, how on earth do you summarize book 6?
Oh, wow.
It was an OMD for sure. I was like, I was blown away. Like I couldn't, like you really tied up with the massacre. Like that really all came together, and it was kind of like, wow, like at least now
I
we know
like
it's not
that,
going to
yeah.
happen anymore, right? So, so you know that the dragons are safe going forward. Well, from those guys, anyways.
Yeah.
And then those dudes. Um, but yeah, like I was like, holy crow, like poor Ludius, poor Sauna. Although
Yeah.
super cool, some of the other things that came about for Sauna from that.
Like with
And
June
it's great that,
Paris.
yes, that was kind of awesome.
Oh,
And
Well,
and I like how it developed kind of a relationship for Isadora with them too. It gave her a connection that she never really had, even from like Dragon Master.
yes.
So
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
because
I
she
thought that
never
was
could
awesome.
figure out the love of the dragons, and so
No,
that was a cool
yeah.
thing for her to,
great.
Mhm.
yeah.
I thought
and
so.
her riding the dragon.
I know, that was wow.
You know, it's like, wow. And then and the lady seeing her that she was going to be the one to do it. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, just
But
do
it kills me when she's getting ready, you know, her leather pants. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved Isadora in this book. And it was fun that like Isadora was the conqueror with the dragons because it's always Sana, right? But it was like
Mhm.
fun
Yeah.
to switch it up and give that to Isadora, especially because to me, it just was a natural concession that once Roxy died, Isadora picked up the mantle of keeping their families together. But if you really look at the network series and the network saga, the Dragon Masters are considered legends. Like the Dragon Masters are gone. Like they're just not there.
Mhm.
And though like Nicholas, who marries Michelle in the network series, the network saga, he does have Dragon Master blood. He actually comes through what's on his friend? Why can't I remember names today?
Jesse?
Jesse. Nicholas is
Yeah.
actually like comes through Jesse. He's a
Oh.
Oh,
I'm in a
Oh, that's
cool.
cool.
yeah.
That is cool.
Nicholas comes through Jesse.
I
Oh, do
came
you want
back at the
another?
right time.
I just remembered what I was going to tell you about book 5. I cannot confirm this for 100%, but I'm confident enough in it that I'm going to say it on a recording. The baby that Isadora helps deliver in Sisterwitches Book 5, and she calls her midwife, remember? And I can't even remember their names either. But she like Leadhamwood or the Watcher Magic takes Isadora to this woman in need, and she's about to die, and she has the baby. That baby, I think, is somehow Mildred's descendant.
Oh,
Oh, wow,
So
cool.
the reason
Cool.
Isadora is it's so important that Isadora gets there is because that if that baby's not born, Mildred isn't born. So they're tied together.
Oh.
Yeah, that was like really clear to me from the beginning. Because what's going to happen, because Isadora and Mildred are going to be working together. Like they're going to be talking in Sister Witches Book 9 and or 10. Like Mildred's resistance kind of starts coming into the picture around 9 and 10. Isadora is going to realize it the moment she meets Mildred. Like she's gonna understand like
Oh.
anyway, that was like a fun little tidbit that I've worked in. So yeah, Nicholas is actually related to Jesse.
Katie, my 13-week-old
Oh, so sweet.
Katie, my 13-week-old pup likes your voice. She keeps trying to come up and lick the phone.
knows I love puppies
This
that
is
are
Duchess.
mine. Hi, Duchess. Hi, honey. Oh,
Yeah.
Look at her face.
I have 6 dogs here. I have 8 rescue cats and 2 lizards.
Oh, that's amazing. Good for you. I have 3 dogs and 2 kids, and that's plenty.
I have a big.
So
I
anyway,
did. Oh,
go ahead.
I
Diane.
did like in that same scene that she found out how Madonna wasn't able to have any children either.
Yeah.
She asked her, how
Yes.
could you go through that?
And I think too, like Isadora needed to see someone fully functioning that understood. Like another witch that had gone that road, but was now showing up in a different way, right? Like I couldn't either, so I just decided to help people that could. And so Isadora is able to see that and start changing her mind to how her future looked. Because I think we so often are like, this is how I want my path. I want it to show up this way, and I want to show up this way in my path. but really like our path is over there and we're pointing that way, and we just need to see someone else who has also like shifted their path. And I felt like Madonna was that person for Isadora.
By the way, Poppy is the
Poppy, thank you. I was like, it's a little bit Poppy, that's right. So somehow I'm actually working the genealogy in the years out as I go. Poppy will be a relation of Mildred. So that's why it was so important that that survived. Anyway, so the point is Isadora picking up the mantle of this expiring culture. I mean, basically their whole culture is being destroyed. Like it's gone now because Talus left and they fell apart. So at least Talus, even though he was a bad guy, was like holding something of what they had together. And now they just go into the world of fade. The Dragon Master line really just fades. So it made sense to me that Isadora is going to fight to hold that together, and that if anyone should really bring that full circle, it was Isadora to do that, because Sana in a way has already moved on. She's like, I'm happy with my dragons, like I don't need to fight for this. But Isadora was trying to fight for it, and that was pretty clear from the beginning, which is, you know, hard when other people are just not caring and your culture is going by the way. I have to ask, what did you guys think about the Kraken at the end?
I knew it was some, but I didn't expect that.
I went, release the Kraken.
I mean, that's exactly what was in my mind the whole time. So I have to tell you this because this is the recorded book club. The Kraken thing I did not know about until like 3/4 of the way through the first draft. And this happens pretty often. Lila's going to appreciate it. This happens pretty often with Alcara. I just wade into the story and I just kind of say, all right, you got to deliver. I've got some ideas. I'm going to work them out. And Alcara always delivers, but not always on the timetable I want. So really, Isadora's struggle with the magic is my own with Alcara. So with that, I just knew something big had to be really driving the poachers and this whole thing. And then I literally don't remember where it came from at all, but I was just in my house one night and I was like, oh my gosh, it's a literal Kraken. Like, there's literally a Kraken. Like, we're gonna bring a Kraken to Alcara. But not only are we bringing a Kraken to Alcara, but there are things as big as the Kraken in the sea that are beating the Kraken up. And we don't know what they are.
That's kind of scary.
Right? Because the book club at noon, people ask, like, how was it was Andy, I think. Andy, I think,
Yeah.
asked, how is the Kraken so injured that, like, what was injuring it at the bottom of the sea, right? And I was like, I don't know yet. But all
I mean, is it
wanna
like
see.
something smaller, like
Don't go swimming.
piranhas?
I
like-
basically in my head see an underwater war between this Kraken and other giant sea monsters. But all that Alcara has told me so far is that there are other giant sea monsters, but they are going to come into play because I'm going to do like a trilogy or a series where Ava is a pirate. And we're going to find out about these giant creatures on our pirate trilogy. And I have no idea when that's coming out, but I just know it's going to happen. So there you go.
I have a question.
I have a question there.
So was
Well,
the
that
foamy,
answers my question.
was the foamy stuff, did you start that before you knew it was a Kraken, or
The what
you know, the
stuff?
orange water, the water
So-
bubbling and
Eventually, once I was like, it's a freaking Kraken. Like, I'm doing like, I remember sitting in my kitchen like, oh my gosh, it's a Kraken. So then I was like, I can't just throw a Kraken at them. Like, I was literally like, I can't just throw a Kraken at my readers. I've got to preface this beast.
okay.
Somehow, right? So then I was like, and then like Alcara just delivers. As soon as I landed on the trail, I was like, it's like wisps appear in my brain. I was like, oh, and then I knew exactly how to foreshadow it. So I was like, I have to make it clear something big is coming, right? And it was the Kraken, and it was huge, and it was unexpected, but at least it was foreshadowed enough. You knew something was coming and something was off. You just had no idea what.
Yeah, not a Kraken. Surprise.
It's like my favorite book ever because you've literally just thrown this giant octopus. Andy, what's your question?
All right, so I have to ask, because stuff doesn't happen just because. Why are the sisters now curious whether the dragons were created or not by the goddesses or the
Oh,
gods. That has to do with the kraken. I mean,
You
are
blame
they?
Lila. That is Lila's fault right now. That is so crazy you asked that question right after Lila logs on. This is proof that Alcara is always listening. That is Lila's fault. And I blame her because I've lost so much sleep over this question. So here's the deal. I was talking to Lila about the story idea, which is always a good idea, but a fraud idea. Lila has this other insight into Alcara. You guys think I'm crazy talking about Alcara in third person? Lila's even worse, right? So Lila straight channels that place. So talking about it, and she tells me, she goes, well, the dragons don't belong to the goddesses, right? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, there's like another dragon energy. There's like another whatever. And I was like, what? We started talking about it, and then I was like, oh no. So I started getting those ideas. And I was like, for the last, I don't know, has it been a month, Lila? Probably even more than a month.
Yeah, probably even more than that. Yeah.
I've been thinking about this damn dragon. So like, I don't know now. Like, is there a big king dragon that I'm not aware of? Like, I don't know, Alcara, what's going on here? So I have started asking that because I'm starting to land on an answer, and it's going to be pertinent eventually in a totally different book. But I want you guys thinking about it now because it will all wrap together. You can ask again, Andy. You're still fine.
Well, now I got nervous and I forgot, and I already put away my iPad where I had all the questions, but it was related to this. I mean, first, if the dragons don't belong to the goddesses, or if they do, who made the kraken and the other big ones?
Oh, so
are
the
they?
Kraken is prana.
Huh?
Across the board. Prana made the
Okay.
kraken. Yep.
oh, that damn prawn.
Oh, okay.
The moment,
Because the
the
people in the island also
Mm-hmm.
refer to
Chithu.
they when I didn't finish reading that story, I'm not gonna lie, because I had 3 book clubs this week, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, and today. So you can imagine all the reading I've been doing. But when they mention the god, is he like Chitu is like the name they gave, I'm guessing, Gelas?
So,
Or are we hearing
This
Gelas?
is a different completely.
Andy, you
Or
always-
is this another lost brother?
No. Andy, you have the best questions. Chithu is actually a goddess, but she hasn't revealed herself, and they've always just called her Chithu and assumed that she was a male.
Oh.
So eventually, I don't know what story, it's not super clear yet. We'll find out what goddess that is. I think I know.
What is she a goddess of, though?
I don't know. She's not separate.
Because all the other ones were.
So remember, the goddesses create magic systems and give them to their witches, and that is how magic exists in the world. The goddesses take raw magic, they create organization out of it. They put it into a grimoire that witches can mimic, and then they put the grimoires on Alcara, and the witches find them and start using these magic systems, right? So what's happened is in the Southern Network, these grimoires have gone out to these witches. And over time, a culture and a belief system about a god named Chithu has developed, but it's not a god. It's just that the witches think it is. They've assigned that, right? So they believe it's a god, but it's actually just a goddess that is sending these magic systems. And you see it in the Swordmaker, because the two magic systems in the Swordmaker were not given by a god, but they think it was, because no one talks about goddesses or gods anymore, right? So it's like how information goes awry after centuries of goddesses not saying anything, right? That's always been clear to me. Chithu has always been a hiding goddess, basically. And it's not a new one, it's just one of the existing ones. That's a great question, Andy. What's the other question?
Okay, the other question is, does the releasing of the kraken have to do with the sacrifice of the water dragons in book 5? Because I remember that the dragon said to Sana, I think it was, like, okay, the debt's been paid and now something else is gonna.
No, but that's a cool parallel. No, so the kraken is basically Prana's creature gone awry, right? So there's this magic system that was set out. can't remember it, whatever the name of those people are. That magic system is one that they have been using, right? The red cinders. It's just a whole new magic system with a grimoire that exists in the ice that they've been using. And the kraken just at some point, I'm not sure when, happened to find out that the forest dragon blood has healing powers, and these witches, what I think happened is these witches encountered the kraken. They had forest dragon blood already, they healed it, it went away, and it just kept coming back, and it became a problem, right? And so they started using this magic system to kill the forest dragon so that they could kill this kraken, and they just developed this problem that eventually sort of destroyed them because they didn't choose to take on the redemption themselves. So they chose wrong, and they lost their home and the magic system. But it's not related to that.
Okay. Yeah. I started thinking of those questions after the afternoon, and it kept bugging me. Because that was never resolved in book 5. I mean, we never find out what the exchange is for the dragons and the mermaids helping Sana find the
Oh, okay.
Santa Medic.
Book 8. So book 8 is the big answer for that question. So in book 5, I set up for book 6, which so the mermaid sea dragon relationship that I'm setting up in book 5 plays out fully in book 8. So in book 7, you're going to see some more hints of it, and just know the answers, the questions that you have about sea dragons in book 7 will be entirely answered in book 8.
And this is how she keeps us on, because
Yes.
she leaves us on a cliffhanger to keep us guessing. So we have to pick up the next book in order to
Of
find out
course.
the answer.
Well, good luck putting that into one book.
No. You've got it the wrong way, Diane. She has to keep writing books to answer all our questions.
It's so true, though.
That's right.
It is so.
Well,
Because we
remember,
still
Andy,
don't
at
know.
lunch today, she was talking, we're going to be into 2030 by the time she has to even catch up with all the books that we're talking about.
Yeah. And we still don't know if they're ice dragons. Like on the Southern Network.
I'm sure there are, or there were. So you also have to remember, this. I was reminded of this as we started plotting the Mortal Wars with Esmelda. By the way, we have almost plotted out the Mortal Wars with Esmelda. It's another trilogy. I have no idea.
Oh, jeez.
For those of you that are interested in the Esmelda time frame, we've got you. I was reminded by Alcara that we have like this much of a glimpse of Alcara, because we have this much of time in Alcara, from even like the High Priestess over here to the end of the Network saga. We really don't see that much of it, when Alcara existed way before the characters that we knew, right? And it was just totally different. So when I'm writing the Great Library of Berk historical collection book, and then the Mortal Wars, we're in a different time frame in Alcara. So Alcara is totally different. Leadham Wood wasn't alive when Esmelda was alive, right?
Oh my goodness.
Right. So we have like such a big time gap here. There's so much can change. There's like so much we can dive into. So there's literally no end to books. So maybe there's not ice dragons in this version of Alcara, but there were ice dragons earlier, right? So there was
Is the mortal one's going to be out next year, Katie? Or
I have no idea. I genuinely don't. Like, I'm just trying to keep up with the flow.
Anyway, this is the first time I even heard about it.
Well, the Mortal Wars has always been on the docket. If you talk to Evan, he's on my team. He's been following me from the day I went to Miss Mabel's. I have always been talking about doing an Esmelda book, but I always knew I wasn't ready. And I've never known when I would be ready, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're ready. And I just like got this idea, and Kaylee and I started fleshing it out. So Alcara is a real witch sometimes, because this is the worst time period of my life, literally, for me to have all these ideas, and they just won't stop coming. And it's birthday week, so jeez. Anyway, so it's already 8:03 at my time, which means we're at an hour, which of course we're just getting cracking on book 6. So I think we should probably do a follow-up book club for book 6.
Yes, please.
Dragon Con. I'm dragging it. So it's birthday week, school, Dragon Con. I get home and then Salt Lake Fan X, and then I'm done with author events for the year. Cross my fingers. So what I'm thinking is we launch Sister Witches Book 7 the first weekend in October. Maybe we could do a follow-up Sister Witches Book 6 book club before the end of September so that we can like remind ourselves and refresh for upcoming Sister Witches Book 7. Does that sound fun?
Yeah.
That sounds fun. It sounds like I have a little catching up to do.
Yes, you got time.
Look
You
at all
got,
reading it.
well, it is my kiddos' birthdays. My kiddos have birthdays the same week, and that's birthday week this week. So I have to go. So Lila, I'm sorry I can't meet with you after, but we can find a time next week to meet together so we can sit down and talk about your plan. But I need to go talk to them. But I will plan on, I'm gonna turn this recording off actually.